at, teams like the Dodgers for over-celebrating. And he would call them out. He didn't care. In fact, there were times when, he would call them out, and then manager at the time, Bruce Bochy, would be like, dude, you gotta relax, man. You're making enemies for us. So he would get mad at teams like the Dodgers where they would over-celebrate. And he would also get mad at his own players, for not retaliating when dudes would throw at their batters. He was very public about that. In fact, he fired Charles Nagy as the pitching coach for Arizona because Charles Nagy refused to teach his pitchers to retaliate. Now, I'm sure there were other reasons, but that was a major reason, and it was a very public reason. So he had a little feistiness to him. He grew up in Medford, Oregon. I believe Ryan Benke lives out there, if I'm not mistaken. And he later went on to play at BYU after transferring out of JUCO in San Diego. Now, Towers was diagnosed with the cancer in 2016, and he died last Tuesday, January 30th, in a San Diego hospital. And it's ironic that, I guess at least he got to see Trevor Hoffman go in. Towers was instrumental in Hoffman making the switch from shortstop to closer. In fact, Trevor Hoffman grew very, very emotional when, at the Hall of Fame press conference when he was asked about Kevin Towers. So they were very close. And his diagnosis didn't even become public until A.J. Hinch, manager of the world champion Houston Astros, displayed Towers' name on a placard in a Stand Up to Cancer ad during Game 4 of the World Series. He is survived by his wife, Kelly, who was by his side at the time of his death. So, rest in peace, Godspeed, Kevin Towers. The baseball world will miss you very much. Now, it was another twofer, just like a couple weeks ago when we had Keith Jackson and Doug Harvey die. Oscar Gamble, the former Cub, Padres, Ranger, Phillies, Indians, and two-time New York Yankee. He died on Wednesday, January 31st in Birmingham, Alabama. He had a rare tumor in his jaw that was diagnosed 9 years ago. And look, the thing about Oscar Gamble, and I think, a lot of us old heads in here, what do we know Oscar Gamble for, right? I mean, probably one of the greatest hairdos ever in the history of Major League Baseball. I'm saying ever. And you rarely ever hear Jake the Snake say, yeah, this is the best ever. I mean, it was that beautiful afro, and look, it was... Meadowlark Lemon would have been jealous of that thing. It was amazing. Hey, you remember like the old Scooby-Doo cartoons, and the Harlem Globetrotters would show up, and Meadowlark Lemon would have like a sink in his afro, and a hammer, and like guns. Oscar Gamble had a beautiful, beautiful afro. Left hand power bat, played 17 seasons in the major leagues. And though many players of his era, chewed tobacco, chaw, I never got into that. I tried it once or twice. It's, that's just not me, man. That's nasty. Why not just eat Newports while I'm sitting there at third base? That'd make more sense. And now, many players in his era chewed tobacco. His wife said Oscar never did. Now, He had a deep crouching batting stance that is well chronicled. I'm sure, like kids in Baltimore when I was a kid, we all wanted to do Eddie Murray's stance because it was, the crazy, exaggerated crouch. And I'm sure kids in New York, at that same time were trying out the Oscar Gamble, over-exaggerated crouch. But hey, it worked. I mean, that guy, he had a little pop in his bat. He never hit for a lot of power in New York, actually. But when he was with the White Sox, Indians, he put up some numbers. And like I said, though many of those players chewed that garbage, and, back then, his wife, she's like, he never did. Ever. Ever. So, that cancer, it's disgusting. Fuck cancer, right? There's nothing good that comes from that goddamn disease. Now look, when he went to the New York Yankees, he had a endorsement deal with Afro Sheen. And because George Steinbrenner is a stickler for making you look like a professional out on that baseball diamond, they made him shave it down. In fact, they told him no uniform until you shave that afro, buddy. And Oscar Gamble went to the boss and said, look, man, with all due respect, I'm going to be losing some money. Afro Sheen is putting cheddar in my pocket, baby. And the boss, being the stand-up guy that he is, included that revenue loss in his contract. Now, they got him in 1976, the year they went to the World Series against the Reds and lost. And when the Yankees signed Reggie Jackson in the offseason of 76, going into the 77 season, it made Oscar Gamble expendable. So he was traded from them to the White Sox, where, he put up great numbers for Chicago. Drafted by the Cubs in 1968, his biggest postseason hits of his career were probably a pair of game-tying home runs off of Brewers pitcher Moose Haas in the, 1981 playoffs? Games 1, Games 5. God, man, that seems so long ago. I remember those home runs. He did make it to 2 World Series with the New York Yankees, 1976 and 1991. I'm sorry, 81. Now look, Oscar just fit into that clubhouse with guys like Thurman, Gator, Sparky, Goose, Sweet Lou, Reggie, Winfield. That was a colorful Yankees team. Billy. Although I don't think he played with Billy that much. I think he might have played for him the second time around. I could be wrong about that. One of you Yankee fans will let me know. That was a really colorful team. And they were revitalized. Even though they lost in 76, the Yankees were back on the map. And they came back and won in 77, right? Grand fashion. Reggie Jackson just murdering balls. He was scouted out of Alabama by Negro Leagues legend Buck O'Neil. So, there you go. That guy's seen them all. From Babe Ruth to today. Well, he's not around anymore. But he saw them all. And he played with many of them. I miss Buck O'Neil. What a great ambassador to the game of baseball. Now, Oscar never got cheated. He was always swinging the bat hard. And how about this, Yankees fans? He was traded to the White Sox for a Bucky bleeping Dent. So that kind of worked out good, right? Oscar Gamble was quoted once saying, "When I'm at bat, I'm in scoring position, you suckers." I love it. That's how you got to look at it. It's just really sad seeing these guys drop off. Oscar is survived by his wife, Lovell Woods Gamble, and 3 daughters, Kalani, Kyla, and Sheena, as well as his 2 sons, Shane and Sean. And Sean is currently a scout for the Colorado Rockies. Now, the funny thing is, even though the Yankees made him cut that hair, right? I told you the story, right? The Avroshin story. He goes in and he tells the boss, look, I'm losing money. And the boss put a little cheddar in his pocket and said, go on your way, young man. Cut that hair. Now, even though they made him cut his hair, some of you may realize that there is a Yankee card with that beautiful afro spilling out the sides of that hat. And it's become one of the more popular cards in the history of baseball cards. His wife said he signed so many of those cards all the way up until his last day. So Oscar Gamble, I salute you. Rest in peace, my friend. You done good, kid. Baseball will never forget you. In his 17-year career, 23 wars, 656 runs, 1,195 hits, 265 average, 200 home runs on the button, 47 stolen bases, and 666 in RBIs. That should be a pretty number to remember, right? 200 home runs on the button and 666 in RBIs. He had a 356 OPS, 454 slugging percentage, and an 811 OPS. Rest in peace, Kevin Towers, Oscar Gamble. Time will not dim the glory of your deeds, and Godspeed. You're listening to the Jake Robinson Sports Experience, coming out of Pawleys Island, South Kakalaki. That's right. It's your boy. And God, I gotta tell you, this is like therapy for me. It's like I was telling you earlier, I'm nothing like this in my real life. And this gives me a chance to just unload and unwind. And then I go through it like a week-long slumber. I don't even acknowledge people around me. I mean, it's kind of sad. But I found that I need this in my life, for sure, for sure. It's the Jake Robinson Sports Experience on the Let's Talk Baseball Podcast Network, and I'm the Spitfire, baby. Now, like I said, I was going to the page this week, and I come across a post from Abraham Gotiner. This guy sends me a message. And it says, if you have to curse, I'm gone. Over 20 years as a sports writer for the Kansas City Star newspaper. I don't need to listen to your trash mouth. And I listened to your whole show and I was appalled. Let me tell you something there, Sparky. What's that supposed to hurt my feelings? You listened to the whole show and you were appalled. Let me tell you something. You listened to the whole show because you hung on every word that I freaking said. You hung on every word that came out of my mouth. And here's the thing. You are no longer allowed to listen to my show anymore because you're dopey and you're a liar. I looked you up, Mr. Gotiner. I looked for you all over Google and everywhere. I put your name in the Google machine, nothing. You know, editor for the Kansas City Star? Why you gonna lie? You think I don't have friends in Kansas City? You think I don't have moles in Kansas City, dude? I'm Jake the frickin' Snake. Nobody's even heard of you, Abraham Gotiner. I shouldn't even say your name because it's just giving you credibility. The fact that it comes out of my mouth. You listened to the whole show and you were appalled. Dude, you can